Welcome, everybody. You may not recognize this man, but you may. Only an E-Diva like myself could pull in other celebrity E-Divas. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil from Dirt Poor Robbins. Welcome, Neil.
Well, it's so good to be here. I've watched it so many times on the stream. I just want to touch this.
Yes.
I'm actually here now. Yeah, cool.
So it's it's kind of a relic.
Right.
What's that?
I was right.
Yeah, I know you
hey.
would know. I know.
I feel like, did I maybe hint at this via text when we were chatting earlier?
No, I didn't know. I went into my news and I spoke to the Lord, and the Lord told me that Neil's coming.
Yeah, okay. I call that the librarium. I tell my wife when I want her to do something for me that I found it in my librarium, which is like a secret spot. I have access to true information that I can't know otherwise. So yeah, it's a similar thing. You could say noose. I say librarium.
Mind Palace.
Mind Palace. Mind Palace is
Sherlock
good.
Holmes' Mind Palace.
Mind Cathedral.
So, guys, we have with us the excellent musician and, as I said, also excellent Orthodox thinker. In fact, I listened to the Jason Myronchuk podcast the other day, and Jim Bob and Jim Jotras and Neil and
John Hears.
John Hears, not
That's
Jim
right.
Jotras, excuse me. Yes. It was a great discussion, and I was really impressed with Neil's answers to a lot of the topics and questions that came. So Neil is with us today, and if you have questions or concerns or issues, we're both going to be answering Orthodox questions or other types of questions as well. Whatever Neil feels comfortable discussing. He may not be comfortable discussing.
I'll discuss anything today, Jay. For you, I'm already on
Okay.
your channel, and so you discuss everything. I'll just roll with you.
Well,
we might play good cop, bad cop or something like that.
That's a good way to do it because Neil once thought I was mean, and then we went to dinner, and he came away and decided I'm not.
Actually, I figured it out before dinner.
So
I didn't think you were mean. I was told you were mean by many people, and then I watched your show, and I was like, "This is kind of awesome." I think they're wrong.
Well, that's cool.
But I also kind of there's a lot of utility in mean right now. We can get into that later, maybe.
That's actually a good question, though. Before we get off, I'm going to ask you that question first.
Okay.
So, why would you say there's some utility in being mean at this juncture, at this stage? Like, shouldn't we just always be kowtowing and just sort of having that?
Yes, always kowtow.
Shouldn't we always just be mats that are walked on?
Oh my gosh, didn't that get us in this mess we're in? So, I mean, there's all these agreeable people out in the world, and then I think in Western Christianity, there's a lot more pressure to be nice because of your witness. In other words, you are saved, and now the thing you do is you show your witness. So you clean up your act. You stop smoking, you stop swearing, you stop those kind of things. Well, also, if people don't like to hurt people's feelings, we got this kind of moral therapeutic vibe going on in our world. We're pickling in this pickle jar that is of political correctness, and so what's happened is I'm not necessarily the most upfront, aggressive style of person. I'd rather take a more persuasive road instead of going at something directly, because it's important to me that the person knows I love them. But at the same time, nice and love are not equal. Helpful and love can be equal.
Right.
So what I found is I wasn't the person to do it, but people like you were more than I was, in the sense that we got back by 2016, 2017, we were backed into such a corner we couldn't talk about anything anymore. Mm-hmm. The most common sense scientific realities were unsayable because it hurt someone's feelings. Mm-hmm. Now, I get where these people are coming from, and I get why this was happening, but to the average person on the street, they thought they were trying to find their purpose and try to find their meaning. To the politicians, they're just trying to get votes. And so I was always really concerned because, people are being manipulated, and their desires are being manipulated, and their narratives being manipulated for the purpose of getting them to vote a certain way.
Right.
So what had happened is they had pushed the things we needed to talk about behind a paywall of offense. And I'm not the guy to do it. I'm not going to go out there and just offend everyone and create room. So what I noticed is that people were complaining about you and some work that other people were doing. We won't even bring them up right now. And that was the problem. It wasn't the problem. It wasn't what they were talking about. It wasn't what they were saying. It was how they were saying it, and they thought they were being mean. And the thing I realized when I was watching, I was like, oh man, we need people because we got pushed into a corner so far, and we're behind this paywall of offense. And now you can't say, if you're unwilling to offend people, you can't talk about certain things. And so I think the content creators that are doing that are actually creating space for the nice people who are complaining about it that they're going to bask in. You're creating a beachhead where people are going to come along who are like, oh, like we want to play nice, we want to play nice. They're going to get to do it, you know. They're going to get to do it, but because other people went out and did the work and ran through the briars for them and the barbed wire. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I feel that way with how could I put it? The way that certain comedians in the last 5 years pioneered saying a lot of things that you're not supposed to say, words you can't
Yeah.
say, the hard R, for example,
Mhm.
and then that kind of freeing things up. And the comedians took a lot of hits, a lot of flack for doing that. But I think in the long run, that was a good thing. Let's read a couple super chats here because they're piling up, and I want to be fair to everyone. Jesse Lee Peterson fan said for $2, would you ever go on a Jesse Lee Peterson podcast or Fallen State? Only if he admits the women at the gates of hell.
Wait, I didn't even understand what you just said. What was that?
Jesse Lee Peterson says that women are the gates of hell.
Interesting. I have a song called "Welcome to Lady Hell," which is it's a description of like what the life women would want the least.
Okay.
So you got to listen to it. You can go find that song. It's not really like a roast on feminism.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like it takes place in a musical. But the funny thing about that is that Jordan Peterson, like his name sounds like Jordan, that was like his favorite song by us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So he had us come and play this song live, but we had to kind of explain it beforehand because we were writing musicals and stories. So like a lot of the songs, if you just listen to the song, is from the perspective of a villain. But he liked all the villain songs apparently. So yeah.
Well, there we go. All right.
There we go.
Yes, so Jesse Lee Peterson, for those that don't know, is the sort of cantankerous and hilarious black guy commentator that he's definitely an oddball. He is an Aryan, so he has his own made-up church. That I don't care for. He did have some really funny podcasts, though, with, you know, sort of 304 type figures that he calls out. Those are very entertaining. The Jamie Kennedy podcast is one of the funniest that he did, because he told Jamie Kennedy to create his own laughing club, which I thought was really funny for a comedian. But I don't know if I would. I don't think he would have me on. I know people have been asking him for a long time to have me on. I don't know if he would. But I mean, maybe if I started OnlyFans, he would, because then you can get on there pretty easily if you're a hoe. But James Caton, $3. Why do few bishops rebuke those that want to join the ecumenist movement? Well, ROCOR has still as its policy the early 80s statement against ecumenism. So it is part of our sort of official-ish statement. There's a lot of pressure amongst other jurisdictions to go along with this. So it's a very nuanced, challenging question. And also probably they want to, I think that Orthodox bishops, I'm guessing, view that as kind of the last resort to public rebuke stuff, but we will probably get to that. Feel free to jump in on any comment that you want to jump in on.
Ecumenism sucks.
Yeah. Water Melonius, $7. You didn't do nothing, but you invited on. You should invite on Brother Nathaniel and quash the beef. He is misguided, but he's good faith. Well, honestly, I just don't think it's worth having that conversation, because I never talked about him or had any interaction, and he just decided to kind of go after me for no reason. So, and again, I think that if you're an Orthodox, quote, monastic for 20 years, but you don't know what theosis is, to me, that calls everything into question. Orthodox streamer, $10. About the holy fire, there's a journalist named Demetrius Alikakos, and there's an Archbishop Isidorus, and they said the holy fire is not a miracle, that they all create it. I've seen these videos for many years. I've never been to the event, but I also don't make a huge apologetic argument on the basis of the holy fire. So I've left that up in the air. Father Deacon, do you have any comments on that? What would you say to somebody who said, oh, this has been debunked by a Greek journalist? Are you there?
I'd like to see it.
Well, the video, he says, go watch the video. It's on YouTube. It's called I Light the Holy Fire. So apparently they've found the guy who does it, supposedly.
Nice. About time they found him.
I mean, our faith doesn't hinge on one miracle. So, I mean, I doubt they have. And there's all kinds of miracles associated around it too. So, I mean, you'd have to go through each one of those and throughout the entire history. So, like, good luck.
I also think that this is a mistake that people do where they make the argument about this or that miracle, and if you can debunk that miracle, then or prove it to be the case, supposedly, oh well, then that proves the religion, right? We hear this from Roman Catholics all the time. All the miracles of the saints, this proves the Roman Catholic position. And then when we find the same types of claims amongst the Coptics, like Zaytun, Egypt, where Mary appears supposedly, oh well, that doesn't count. That doesn't prove Coptic stuff because well, it's only the Roman Catholic apparitions that count. So the goalposts end up moving, and that's why I don't really ever make that kind of stuff the definitive proof. I think there will be miracles that accompany the true faith, but they can't be kind of the thing that you pivot on to prove or disprove it. Great question though. Let's see. William Santos, $5. Jay, do you think I can ask? By the way, we're going to ask you questions. I apologize. We're not trying to just.
No, I'm hanging out. This is great.
We're going to start asking you questions.
This is the closest seat I ever had for your stream.
We're going to grill you in a moment.
Okay.
Elijah Safer went on Jimmy Dore, or you saw him on there, and he was wearing Orthodox cross. I assume he's becoming Orthodox. Well, I don't know that he is, but he's definitely asked a lot of questions to me, a lot of Orthodox priests he's talked to. So he's definitely interested. Probably counts as an inquirer. I don't think he's become a catechumen, but definitely pray for Elijah Schaefer. We'd like to see him become Orthodox. Kyle, is Canada cooked? I mean, people ask me the same thing about the UK. Like, what do we do about the UK? What do we do? I don't know. I don't know what to do. What do you think? What do we do?
Well, if Canada, like if you start smelling a fresh pine scent in the air, that's probably Canada is cooked. And I've noticed that. So, well, I talked about this with Jonathan Pageau over the weekend because this is where he lives, and I'm always trying to get him out. I'm like, man, we've got this special talents visa and green card and citizenship path. It's pretty easy to do. It takes about 3 or 4 years. He would totally qualify for it. It's just a matter. I mean, if I was there, so I've been in the same kind of position before in my life. Like even during COVID, my state locked down so hard, and we're nomads. In other words, I make all my music with my band. I can live anywhere. We just sold our houses and moved to Florida. That was like the solution for it. So, I think that people, it depends. Like, I mean, I don't know where God wants people, whatever they're called to, who knows? You could imagine that there's going to be some countries that people are going to be left in that are too bad for some godly mission. But outside of that, I mean, you vote with your feet. Go where you're going to be treated well if you can afford to. So if you're in Canada, like, and you could get here, I would get here.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, I know some people. Well, I won't say their names, but they also left their Fabian socialist country to come to the U.S. as well. Ortho Anglo Croat, $25. Here's a book recommendation: The Master and Emissary, Divided Brain and the Making of the Western World by Ian McGilchrist. It complements a lot of what Father Deacon Ananias brings up about left brain traps and ties in with Pageau's work. It's a recommended audiobook. The first half is a very heavy lift.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you read it?
No, never heard
Okay,
of it.
so I talked to Ian McGilchrist in London in February.
Okay.
So we were it was kind of a cool event. We my wife Kate and I were Dirt Poor Robbins, the band. Have I said that yet? We're in the background.
I've got you up in the background.
I love it. So anyway, it was nice because there were some members from the Bulgarian Symphony Orchestra, and we arranged one of our songs for them to play. So we played with the orchestra. But afterwards, one of the people I was most excited to talk to was hanging out in the green room was Ian McGilchrist. And so what I brought up with Ian McGilchrist, because I read the Master and His Emissary right at the same time I was becoming Orthodox, and I noticed this complete harmony with the way he was talking about the mapping of the brain, like the way these hemispheres interact, including the frontal lobe and the back lobe, with the architecture of an Orthodox church. So if you look at the symbolism, like you can watch, we can bring up Pageau again, he did in the thing. So if you watch one of his church tours and he talks about like, what's the symbolic east? So in like Orthodoxy, the east is your head. It's what comes off the pillow in the morning. It's what rises. The south is your left hand. The north is your right hand, and your feet are the west. This is how the churches are laid out. This is pretty obvious. Like the church is shaped like a cross and you're laying on your back looking up. Well, we talked about the interplay that he was really going over between the left and the right hemisphere. And Orthodox iconography, the way it's laid out, is identical. The reasons things are laid out. So it's like, Ian was actually loved this idea. He loves Orthodoxy too. But what I was saying is that you guys are finally catching up to what people had intuited within Orthodoxy about the symbolic layout of the world and what's been revealed to us in Scripture. That the scientists are actually catching up to realize that even our internal cosmos of our mind has the same exact layout of the cosmos above.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had a good talk about it anyway. I should have recorded it.
Now, it sounds kind of like the structure of the universe in Plato's Timaeus as well. It's sort of structured like a man and the man's head and so forth. So that's interesting.
I have to take your word for that one.
I would not lie. I've never lied once in my life.
I haven't caught you yet.
Do you know what's interesting? That's amazing thought, actually. So the right brain is supposed to be like the whole, right? It's the thing.
Well, no. Yes, the right brain, but they're flipped. You know what I mean? So the right brain is your left hand, and your left brain is your right hand. Right. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. Keep going.
But what's interesting about the architecture is that so the left brain's kind of piecemeal, right? Like it's pieces. It doesn't know where to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
It needs the master plan. So it's actually the kind of the whole pattern, right, that puts all the pieces in its right part. And if you think about that liturgically and in terms of the architecture, you have the whole that puts all the pieces in its right spot in the liturgy and in the architecture. So that's kind of another cool.
No, that's good. That's really good. And two, so if you look at so in Christianity, the left hand in a positive sense is a symbol of renewal, a symbol of recreation. And the right hand has to do with more tradition, what's been established. And so one of the really interesting things, if you look at it as like a clockwork motion of like things beginning in the mind of God and then moving out into the world through the left hand. So one of the things Ian talks about in his book is that if someone's blinded in the darkness, you will protect yourself with your right hand and you will feel out into the world with your left hand. Everybody does this. And it's showing us basically how we move out into the world and do things. So the interesting part about this is that all of mankind, as you moved through this circle, when we passed on to the left hand into where the feet are, let's just call that, let's say that death in Hades, is that everybody stopped there because none of us were acceptable to be brought into the tradition. And it's in Christ, he's the first one who led the way to the right hand. And this is why it's significant that he's put at the right hand of the Father. So the architecture in the Orthodox Church is a physical example of a well-ordered soul. And when you look at that well-ordered soul, like Andrew Gould was talking about this, he's a church architect, and he was saying that what we see in the Orthodox Church is because our normal senses are too weak to see what the world is really like. So when Jesus is transfigured and Moses and Elijah are with him, like the idea is that this is actually an ongoing state of Christ and the world, and the veil is being lifted for a second where they can see it. And so in the Orthodox Church, we have this laid out in front of us because until we're with God, our sight and our ears and even our sense of smell are going to be too weak to know what the world is really shaped like and what God's really doing in it. And so the Orthodox Church is also showing us that. I thought that was wild.
Speaking of, I think both Pageau and I have both covered this text, and I think this is it. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah, this has got to be it. So there's a small writing that St. Maximus did that ties in well with St. Germanus of Constantinople on the architecture of the church and the symbolism of the church and the building and the liturgy. And if you want to watch my talk on this right here, it's called, I can't remember the name of that work, but somebody in the chat will remember what Maximus's little essay is on the church. But anyway, there's my talk on that there. And then I did link for you guys Pageau's talk, one of the talks with
my biggest
Ian here. And then there's
there is an immediate
full interview here. Beyond Materialism, The Matter with Things. If you guys want to check that out, that Neil is mentioning. And also, this is Neil's channel here, Dirt Poor Robbins. And everybody be sure and follow him. Go check out his music.
So our last record is our most Dyer record, meaning that you could probably throw up a lot of the tracks as your opening music. It's definitely, it's got some 80s.
So
it's cringecore, yeah.
Cringecore.
Matt Dillamonkey is track 3. We did our own version of it, not AI. We don't use AI in our music. So, no, it's got more of a synthwave 80s rock vibe.
It does. In fact, the Babylon song was very interesting.
No, that's from Queen of the Night.
I know it's older, but I like that one.
Yeah,
that
so we did a movie called Queen of the Night in 2022. It's a silent film we put our own music to, and that record has a dramatically different flavor because it's the 1920s, and so we got this vaudevillian ragtime throwback kind of thing happening.
This is you here.
There I am.
Going wild on the guitar.
I'm taking it. I'm going easy, probably.
All right, why is this not working?
And that's me and a parrot.
Okay.
Oh, that bird flew away, guys. It was so sad. My African gray. It flew away.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, my daughter took it outside, and we in some lady at the pet shop was like, "Stop clipping the wings. They can't fly really anyway." And she took it outside, and it flew away. So, if you want to see us playing live or something, let me see. You know what's? Oh, click on the. Hold on, go back up. This one's hilarious. Click on that one. This is us in like This is a throwback, but this is in 2011 covering Mary Poppins, and it will not play it. It doesn't like it. Scroll down. It might just get you there. Nope, these are random people. Never mind. Hey, you guys have the link to our channel. Go find it yourself.
Yeah, if you come over here to shorts and you see the one here.
that one's funny.
Spoonful of sugar here.
Yeah, and the other one, the one you were talking about earlier, like I'm ripping on the guitar or whatever, that was at the Symbolic World Summit. Jonathan made us come and play, yeah.
This one?
Yeah, but we don't post a lot of shorts. I'm like really bad at, I don't even know how our channel's growing and stuff because I'm so bad at like posting content and stuff. I just want to post the songs and go back to work.
Yeah, I agree. Shorts are the worst, man. I absolutely hate doing shorts. But okay, so anonymous Isaiah has differences between the Masoretic and the Septuagint. Heard debate with a Muslim and Protestant. They were using the Septuagint and the Masoretic. Blah blah blah. For the angel of great counsel. How do you refute this? Well, I mean, the Masoretic text is not the normative text for the Orthodox Church because we would agree that the rabbinic sources in the first century did begin to alter and change and excise things. And that's what Irenaeus and St. Joseph Martyr say. So it's not that we can't refer to the Masoretic text when it's useful. The book of Matthew does this in some places because sometimes people are not going to accept the Septuagint. So you're going to have to say, okay, well, even in your Masoretic text, it admits this, and here. So it's not really an issue of like, you know, that one text. I mean, it's going to be an issue of authority and why are we supposed to go with rabbinic text anyway? Charisma Mysterion, the chat wants to know if your musical guest is Enya. The answer is yes. This is actually Enya.
Dude, my wife loves Enya so much still. I can't stop her. It's like she puts it on and I feel like I'm dying in a nursing home.
Well, I like Enya. So,
oh, I mean, Enya's, yeah, well, this explains a lot, actually.
That's why the chat was making the joke, was that because I'm this outlier that actually likes Enya. Now, there's certain songs that I don't like, but some of the more like pagan, chanty, scary songs, I like those.
All right, I'll throw you guys a free one to go along with that. If you were into Enya, you'll really be into a band called Iona. And in the 90s...
I have all their CDs.
Iona? Oh, yeah. Beyond These Shores is one of the best records from the 90s. It's about St. Brendan's voyage.
I play it all the time.
Okay, man, look at this. Who knew? Who knew? Someone else knows Iona. I say this and no one knows. But Jay, of course, knows everything.
I have their double CD live.
Yeah, they're great.
That's how into Iona I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see where we at here. Okay, I think we did all these. The shower guy. Okay, get out of the shower, dude. That's gross. Jay, I'm devouring your content. I used to be a Protestant pastor. I'm very convinced of orthodoxy. I want to inquire at a local Rocourt parish. My wife is turned off by the idea. She doesn't want to leave the church. It's causing a divide. Do you have any recommendation? This happens all the time. I get this question like at least once a week. And I think Father Deacon has had really good advice about this, which is like, just keep going to the church, be patient. Eventually she'll want to come. And if she meets other women and finds community, that's usually what happens. Is that your experience?
Yeah, 100%. Now, there are like ladies that want to know the answer to theological questions. Sure. They're really into some are really into church history. But for the most part, when this situation happens, what it is that like we have to understand that like our taste, like the things we prefer, can be formed against us. Meaning that like you've got to imagine like the demonic powers in the world are going to help you gravitate towards things that aren't good for you and won't benefit you. And in the back of their mind, they know what the Orthodox Church is. And a big part of the way our entire world is laid out in the West is so that you have an aversion to that. This is my hot take on it. Anyway, I can't prove that. I could probably give you some, circumstantial evidence. So what happens is that there's a trick that happens in people's mind where they see these things are uncomfortable with, like let's say someone kissing icons, someone doing the sign of the cross, someone bowing, a priest investments, processions around the church. All of this stuff feels like what's going on here, and this is stuff that's been co-opted by cults. As the church in the West abandoned these things, so they see it and they think it's cultish or they think it's idolatry or something like that. The best way to remove the idea of idolatry is just to be around the people who you think are practicing idolatry. So like someone like Gavin Ortland who's saying like, oh, this is an idolatrous practice the Orthodox made up, it's an accretion. It's like, okay, well, what does idolatry produce in people? All right, go watch the people. See if you see that pride and that kind of action from them. So what I notice happens all the time. So like, we go to different conferences and different events. A lot of times guys will just bring their wife to a conference with them. They'll have some chill time talking to other people. And like these people, not only are they like normal, but they're not performatively fake. Like you run into that, especially in certain circles in Protestantism where it's like, I got to be nice. I got to be nice. And it's this kind of Ned Flanders without heart. And then you get around Orthodox people and they enjoy a drink and they'll laugh loud and they're, and they actually care and they know how to pray for you. So I don't know. I think that the best thing to do is just to be around Orthodox people. Christ says you'll know you're Christians by your love for one another. And I think that's been evident in almost every Orthodox community I've walked into. I'm sure there are exceptions, but I think that would be your best starting point.
Zane, $10, 100%, 100%. By the way, guys, if you missed, I was just on with Sam Tripoli and we went deep into banking and World War II. Shout out to Sam Tripoli, 100%. He says, Jay, I was first becoming Russian Orthodox. Theosis was one of the things I learned first. That is super sus. If someone is Orthodox and they don't know this. Yeah, talking about Nathaniel,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's see, we did this one, we did this. Okay. Now I have a question for Neil, and then we'll open it up to the Q&A in the chat. So tell us a little bit about your trajectory, because a lot of people don't know, like you had an evangelical background, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to Orthodoxy from
So
that?
I was raised Catholic. And
okay.
well, we weren't at first. So like, how long do you want me to take? Give me a range and I'll change the
All
details.
the time you want.
Oh yeah. So my parents raised me Catholic, but we weren't Catholic right away. I was christened. They throw a little water on your head, but we didn't really go to church. And I think when we were younger, my parents were starting to have problems. So my mom would walk over to the Catholic church in our neighborhood to pray. And I'd never been in a church. And so I remember going in there and like seeing this cross. And I thought it was the strangest thing I'd ever seen, that the reason this building existed and everybody went there was for that. And that was so alien to me. So, but all at the same time, I like a good mystery. I liked it. So it kind of just kept knocking around the back of my head. So my parents, in efforts to like try to help their marriage, which I think it may have, actually started making us attend Catholic church again. And I went to Catholic school. But I mean, it's unfair for me to describe my experience as a Catholic to other Catholics, because mine was particularly bad. Like it was particularly bad. So the catechism at the school was absolute nonsense all the way up into my early years in high school. So my first year at this school called Bishop Hendricken High School, they had just gone through a scandal where the bishop had been taking out boys and grooming them. And some reason my parents still sent me to the school. and they had a huge, it was like national news level scandal. So that was at the school, and this was like kind of like the top Catholic high school in the state. But in my religion class, they were teaching things like what they were calling contextualization at the time. And it was just basically, here's why nothing in the Bible actually happened. Here's why the miracles didn't happen. And even me, I wasn't really an atheist at all, but I wasn't into church. And so what was happening to me at the time, I thought that was the dumbest idea. It's like, if God's all powerful, why can't he just interject events into his own creation? That just didn't make any sense. Anyway, that was pretty bad for me. But at the same time, when I started to get into music was a transcendent thing for me. Like, so when I go to shows, there was a feeling you'd get like that, whatever, the goosebumps you get in that sense. And then when I started trying to write music myself, because I came from an entertainment family. My dad was a radio announcer. My mom was a jazz singer. Both sides of the family was loaded with musicians. We were like the Von Trapps at Christmas. Everybody sang harmony. And so I got kind of raised in this Carney family. So we were always doing music. And then when I started to write music, I kept writing like Christian music. And I had no interest in that. I was literally playing guitar to find girls and stuff like that. And so I was so frustrated with myself because I was having these like positive, intrusive thoughts. So after that, I ended up in one of my uncle's churches. So he invited us to church because he said, hey, like we got this youth group and it's all girls and we need some guys. And I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Yep.
And it was a Pentecostal church. And it was totally nuts. And it kind of cringed me out. But at the same time, it was more alive. And I started to get into it, but not as much as the other people in my band. So my band like went through a conversion. We went from just being a band that was like a hair band and a progressive band.
Like hair metal?
Yeah, like metal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you gotta like if you go far enough back
you're
on
like Michael Bolton, who went from hair metal to like momcore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tori Amos did this too. Well, I didn't go to momcore.
I'm just joking.
But so my experience in the Protestant church on a short run is like It was cringy. I mean, I don't know how to say it. All along, I thought there was something wrong with me. I was like, why do I keep finding problems with everything? Why? I want to help with the music, right? I want to help at this church do worship music or whatever. I'm a musician,
Mhm.
but it was like I had nothing. I wanted nothing to do with the sounds we were making. I didn't know why this was the music we had chosen.
And was this like standard sort of evangelical praise and worship type stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And but with electric guitar at
Yeah,
church,
yeah,
you're on the
right.
stage.
Yeah.
And I remember the best thing was I had finally convinced the pastor that I could do a guitar solo at church. And I was like about 16. And I went right up to the edge of the stage like it was a show, like curling my toes on the end, and just like whipped the guitar out, kicked on the distortion, and the girls at church started screaming. And that was the last time I got to do that for a while because it was just went off the rails. It turned into a Van Halen concert immediately. Anyway, it was pretty bad. But in general, like I say it like this, is that there was something so weird about the music because we were copying the world, which is already we're off to a bad start. Because in the Lord's Prayer, it's "Let your will be done on earth, down here, as it is in the heavens." Not that we are like, "Hey, what do we do for church? I don't know. Let's go look around the earth and see what's going
Which
on."
means every Christian band should be Coldplay and U2.
Yeah, exactly. So Coldplay and U2, the problem with that is like I didn't like those bands and we still weren't as good as them. Like they cringed me out less than what we would do because we had to play by a set of rules that they couldn't. Like it had to be really singable for 80-year-olds. It also had to be really sanitized. God is not a God of confusion, so we got to understand every metaphor. It's got to be really clear and didactic. Or it was like Jesus is my girlfriend kind of stuff. And I always assumed that there was something wrong with me that I didn't like it. Like it was never like, hey, these guys are doing the weirdest thing possible. There's no historical reference for anything. This is nothing like the church that was established. No, that was not my thought. My thought was like, man, if only I could get on board with this. If only I wasn't completely like grossed out during altar calls and stuff like that. And I always assumed it was something wrong with me until I kind of went everywhere. So I just started seeing everything and paying attention to what everybody was doing, Calvinist, charismatics, whoever they were, and everybody had the same kind of story, which was like, well, we're all getting it a little bit wrong. Like it's not very uncommon to go to a church that has just recently changed its bylaws, its dogmatic statements. They're updating things. We're learning as we go. And that was, to me, a no-go. Also, like I was really starting to become obsessed with the early church because I felt that would be the escape route to my my frustration in the modern church, that we had gone off the rails and we lost the track. But in my brain, my evangelical brain, I was like, it must have been like a hippie thing. It must have been like commune,
Low
people just getting
church,
together,
yeah.
just loving each other. And well, gee, that ruined me. Just to look, even a cursory look at history was like, there's no Protestant denomination that I could find anywhere. Like, I don't like to talk about Protestantism as if it's one thing, because it's not. I think I like to personally address all the different churches individually because they're not a unified front. And in fact, I think a lot of the groups believe in completely different gods. So anyway, yeah. So when I got into that and I discovered that it was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Then I went to an Orthodox church. And so the historical arguments were great for me and really helpful to get me to look into it. But the reality is, okay, if like for your wife that doesn't want to go to church with you or whatever, the church exists now. And you can have an experience in that church now. You don't have to know about the history. The history is helpful if let's say you've adapted bad presuppositions along the way, and it's good at like helping reset. Like, hey, listen, and maybe a well-meaning person who didn't know any better taught you wrong. And that's what I experienced. So we went to an Orthodox church, and I was like so moved immediately. And I had a couple of I don't want to talk about them. Like I was talking about this with Cleave to Antiquity, Ben.
Experiences.
Yeah, I had some experiences that just were like it. There was a couple of things I still had problems with, and they were just gone in an instant. But at the same time, there was like 60 other problems when I was looking at Orthodoxy from the outside that had already gotten solved. And here we are now. So I spent a lot of time in the Christian music industry. To become Orthodox was a huge hit to my career. My entire network was gone.
So
when I did it.
were you already kind of ensconced in evangelical Christian music?
Yeah,
and-
I was
and
like a
this is-
professional
okay.
Protestant. So we have lots of songs. If you're an evangelical, you probably sang one of my songs at your church at some point. And we still get like checks in the mail for those songs and whatever.
Nice.
But luckily, most of them, I don't. When I go back and listen, I'm like, okay, this didn't go off the rails. Like I kept on safer subjects.
And you were one of the Gaithers, is that correct?
Yeah, well, okay, there's heavy on the first half of that name.
Way
Yeah.
down a little bit deeper.
Yeah, Gaither with a hard R. So the Gaither. So yeah, we were that, and so, but coming to Orthodoxy was awesome. The first person who kind of picked me up, I got on his radar, was Jonathan Pageau, and he really helped me rebuild some kind of connections, because we were singing conferences. I was playing on worship records. I'd quit playing on worship records a while ago, or the last one I played on was this record called Songs Inspired by the Story. It was like every Christian artist was on it, and I replaced their guitar player in their bands, and it was one of the worst musical experiences I ever had. That was my final straw. I was like, this is just ripping my soul out to do music this bad.
How did you first get the idea of, I'm going to check out an Orthodox church? Like, did you see a pageau video?
Yeah, pageau.
Or,
So,
okay.
the Peterson pageau pipeline. So, before Jordan Peterson became popular, I was heavily into symbolism. So as a Protestant, I was into typology and symbolism, and there was just a couple of guys like James Jordan,
Yeah.
and Alistair Roberts is one of the really good ones out in England. I think his book Echoes on Exodus is really, really strong. And what was I going to say about them? Oh yeah. So there was, when I would talk about symbolism with people, I'd be like, I would just start breaking down the Garden of Eden. I remember I was asked to do a sermon. I was breaking down the symbolism of the fig leaves and the trees and why this, and like it was all treated with such suspicion. I was like, maybe I'm making this stuff up. It seems totally coherent to me. And I didn't do, like, for me at that time, there was no history before the 15th century. There was no one to go and read on anything, and there's no one really coherently talking about symbolism in the West for 500 years. So
Right.
I actually found Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning book.
Oh, interesting.
And there are parts of that were super illuminating to me, but parts of it just felt like really clunky. And then he started incorporating Jonathan Pageau. When I picked up Pageau stuff, I couldn't find anything wrong in what he was saying, and it actually kind of helped me. Like, I mean, it might have been self-seeking move, but I was like, these are the things I'm thinking about and writing about. And our music was always symbolic. We always went heavily in symbolism. In fact, we were doing something, it was like a modern version of apocalyptic literature, which is apocalyptic people think the end of the world. And yeah, we get a lot of songs and ideas around the end of the world, but apocalyptic meaning was an unveiling. There are things we look at every day and we just reduce them to the material components and their mechanical causalities. But they're actually shaped that way with a meaning that's exposing something that we're not ready to see directly yet. So that was, I found that was like the sweet spot in our music. So when I wrote stuff like that, that's when people were reporting back having like numinous experiences. They're getting like some kind of transcendence, so they couldn't figure out why it was moving them emotionally. And I was having the same experience writing it. So when we did that, I finally found Jonathan Pageau, and I was like, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. And then I started reading St. Ephrem the Syrian, St. Maximus the Confessor, and I was like, I found my home.
And that was around, what was the year?
2017, I found the first time
Okay.
I heard about Orthodoxy in a legitimate way. When I asked about it earlier on in my Christianity, someone told me it was Catholicism where they do the sign of the cross backwards. That's the only difference. In fact, if you look up a clip, it's on Ripley's Believe It or Not. There was a show in the 80s, and Jack Palance, he was like that old cowboy guy.
Oh, yes,
Yeah. And he was talking about, he told the story of the split of the Great Schism as if the schism was over. Which direction to do the sign of the cross? Look it up. It's the dumbest crap you've ever seen. It's completely ahistorical, and it set me back probably 20 years because I think I would have become Orthodox a lot earlier. The other thing, well, I heard an argument that Orthodoxy was bad because in the Soviet Union, it was too clunky to survive the persecution, meaning that the establishment, the structure, the institution was too bureaucratic, too weighty.
KGB bishops.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then someone said, look in China, like look at all these, like China, the church went underground. It didn't have this liturgical style, and look, it still survived and is still growing in China. And someone made that argument to me, but then when I actually looked into it historically, I realized that someone just totally made that up. So I had a bunch of setbacks. So 2017, and then by 2019, I was a catechumen. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Awesome.
And the family got on board right away. I was one of the lucky ones where my
Yeah.
wife went, she's like, this is like Hogwarts for Christians. I'm in, you know? So,
Nice. Well, that makes it easy when, they're that, open to moving in that direction, because
Yeah.
we get so many questions of people like, how do I get my wife? How do I get my wife? Let's see. Shower Guy says again, Bobby C says, I'm expanding my library with nonfiction. What are your suggestions beyond Space Trilogy? I'm considering Dune. Yeah, I love Dune. I would say you should get Tolkien. You should get Lord of the Rings. You should get Philip K. Dick. You should get Ray Bradbury. You should get Flannery O'Connor. You should get. There's so many fiction writers that are good. We covered some of the classics in some of the podcasts. We did William Golding, Lord of the Flies. Recently, we did the Conrad books, but nobody watches those. So, if you want to do podcasts, don't cover literature. Although, shout out to BLA, he has a great channel, and he covers lit.
Baselit analyzer.
Yes, or
Yeah.
anybody BLA. Who are your? Do you have fiction go-tos that you like?
Well, I mean, he's already got a couple of them on there. I really liked. Okay, let me give you a wild card that you probably haven't heard of that fits nice with these books. It's got a little PG-13 stuff in it, so keep the kids away. No, it's called "The Dream of Perpetual Motion" by Dexter Palmer. He's a professor from Princeton who wrote like one book. And he tells you everything he thinks, and it's a really beautiful book because it's a reenchantment story. It's a world that it takes place like there's got this kind of Willy Wonka character who's taking over the world with robotics and inventions and stuff. And there's this wonderful relationship between the dad and the son because the dad lived in a world before this, and he's always reminding the son. He's like, "You don't understand. When I used to walk the streets, like angels would stand there on the corners and dare you not to believe in them. And now you've got these machines, and all you can see is machines, and all you have is a machine in your mind." And so the story really was it was really about like this battle going on right now between the human soul and let's just say like automation. And so that's a good book to read. That's a surprising one not many people have heard of. So I'll just throw that one in the mix.
Okay.
But yeah, there's other more popular books I can say too.
I haven't heard of that. That sounds cool.
Loris, my Kate loves Loris, which is an Orthodox author too.
Bobby C, you missed my chat earlier. The internet dropped. What are your suggestions of nonfiction? Okay, yeah, we did just hit that. Bobby C, sorry. Swinters, $5. What do you think about Ibarra's book, Revisiting the Debate Between Catholics and Orthodox? Honestly, bro, I don't have time to read Eric Ibarra's books. I have not kept up with Eric Ibarra. All right, now let's move to chats. We got a lot of people in the chat here. JRB, what's up? What's on your mind? Jerb, what's on your mind? JRB, Jerb. They took the Jerbs. What's up? Coach, they might remember.
Z.
They might remember Coach Z. He remembers Coach Z. Jerb, what's up?
How come you don't dance no more, Coach Z? Come on.
Are you there? Okay, he's not gonna talk. Nikon, what's up?
Nikon.
Unmute.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Yo, so I wanted to say, Jay, if you go back into stand-up comedy, which I assume you're going to, man, I think you should really go for the cholo, the Mexican accent thing that you do, man. It's so funny.
What if I just went as if I was a cholo and I just went to like Mexican stand-up clubs? Is that what you mean? Like,
well, you should definitely do that.
Okay.
I wanted to say you should definitely do that. I want to give you a cholo pass because I'm half Mexican, so you got a pass from me. I did want to comment on whoever has the best, black man impersonation. That would actually be Sam Hyde. Have you seen his stand-up?
I have. Yes.
Dude,
of course.
I mean, so you could do like the Mexican version of that.
Okay, so I have to be the cholo because Sam wins the. Okay, I'll take it. I'll be the. No, I mean, I like it. I like where you're going. There's a lot of cholo in me. The only thing is, like, I've already racked up 25 inward passes. I've only gotten one cholo pass, so I feel like I'm way behind. Jerb, are you there? Unmute. Jerb. They took the Jerbs. Are you there?
Ladies.
I can't believe I forgot to give you a cholo pass. You have another one.
Well, you don't have that. Well, I'm not going to say who, but just because you have relatives that are cholos doesn't mean you can just hand them out like candy. What are you thinking? John? Is that what, so you think you just get to hand them out like it's just free candy?
Well, I have one. I'll give you mine.
Okay, thank you. So that's 2 cholo passes. Maddock, what's up? By the way, you heard we had the black dude in here saying that I have the best Cat Williams that he's ever heard, even amongst black people. So maybe Sam Hyde does a thug better, but can you actually say that a black dude can't judge a black dude's voice, aka Cat Williams, better? Come on.
I think doing a specific person's voice is more impressive than doing general group's voice, because how do you test it against a general group? So if you can do a good Cat Williams, Sam Hyde needs to pick a specific person to impersonate, and then let's see. Let's do the test.
I think that white dude on Instagram is the best wigger, though, for sure. Oh, he's leaving now. I said the W word. All right, so he's going to be canceled. Zane, what's up?
I get canceled all the time. I'm used to it.
Zane says, have you looked at useful charts. They are a Christian denomination family tree. No, I don't know about that, but I'm guessing that it's like just showing the split between East and West and then Protestants and all that, but I'm not familiar with that. Anon, what's up, man? We had H. Brazzi in here saying it's the best Cat Williams. Anon, what's up? Unmute, dog.
All right. I'm probably gonna get roasted by y'all, but
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, I'm good for a conversation. Okay, so I'm a Southern Baptist, and I support Israel State, and I'm half black. So y'all let me have it. Y'all ask me
What?
questions, and I'll
He's
go for it.
joking. He's joking. Are you joking or are you being serious?
Nah, I'm actually serious, man. And y'all can kick me off if you want to. I'm just curious. I was trying to learn from y'all, like see what you.
Well,
guys
what are
think.
your reasons for supporting
Yeah,
Israel?
What's your argument?
Yeah. What do you think Israel is that you should support it above something else?
Yeah. So if we're gonna talk, like, so I think that in the world, like, I don't believe in isolationism. I think that we have to go around the world and project our strength to, because listen, like, we don't grow everything in America. There are important minerals, important national resources that we need to open up.
Okay, what minerals and resources are in Israel? You know, there's not really any oil there, right?
Yeah, no, and I exactly know that. But what I'm saying with this though is that it's an outpost. Like, I don't see them as like it's something like where like, and like, I'm not saying I religiously see them like that, but I do see them as an outpost in the Middle East.
Okay, did
for
you
a
see
field of
the
projection.
interactions between Epstein and Ehud Barak, the emails?
Yeah. So my thing with Epstein is I think I don't think that it's as big as people are trying to say it is. Whenever we had 500,000 children trafficked across our fucking border last year,
It's not
we
about
had
the
fucking-
numbers. That's a deflection. He was targeting high-profile individuals, power movers and shakers in America. That's the point, not the numbers. So what do you mean that's
Okay.
not? Why would our ally have to target and compromise some of the most powerful people in our country?
But like, so they also say that Epstein's like with Trump. They say with everything. So it's like Epstein's like the big thing. Like,
I'm
he's
talking
with
about these are
everybody.
actual emails showing that he was coordinating with Ehud Barak and other Israeli spies on how to compromise high powerful individuals, including people like Peter Thiel. So don't deflect away from that. Tell me why that's good if that's our ally. Why is our ally having to compromise powerful people in America?
Yeah, so again, I'm gonna point on to this is that I think that Epstein's very low level whenever we're talking about actual what's going on. And like, listen, okay, I'll say this. It's like, okay, you have me on that. I disagree with you on that.
Have you read a book on the topic? Have you read Whitney Webb's book? Any book on this topic?
On the Epstein topic?
Yeah.
No, because again, and for all the survivors, thank God that they're survivors. But I just like I'm focused on what's going on right now.
Okay, well,
and what our
that
actual
was
threats
going
are
on right
there.
now because that was all the way up until the 2010s. Have you read anything like Victor Ostrovsky's book By Way of Deception, Gordon Thomas's Gideon Spies, any of those texts?
Do we want to talk
Okay,
about
so
books, or do we want?
there we go.
No, I mean, like, can we have?
Yeah,
let's
right.
talk about
No,
active
no.
stuff.
Well, see, that's active stuff because that's where we are now. That's how we got to where we are. But I'm gonna move on. Thank you for your call. Why don't you call back in when we're doing like a Middle Eastern discussion, and then we'll focus on that. But I don't want Neil to get wrapped into something that he's.
I don't have an opinion on everything.
Can I say one thing on
Yes, you may, John. Only if it agrees with me, though.
it?
What's up?
I will say that's one of the first people I've ever heard admit that it's just an outpost in the Middle East. So at least he understands that aspect of it, that, most people associating it with Christian Zionism or, dispensationalism, they won't actually admit that it's, a military industrial complex outpost in the Middle East. They'll just defer to it being some sort of holy land, but actually recognizing that there's a utilitarian concept, i.e. military industrial complex thing.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And also, too, you'll find that when you really get into the weeds of this, and I'm not saying that to just be a smartass, it's like they've not actually read what Israeli strategy is. They haven't read the spy books. They haven't read the Middle Eastern geopolitical text, not because of being a know-it-all, but because that's the context that you need to understand what's happening and why it's happening, right? This is not just well, God's chosen people is the apple of God's eyes, Israel. It's more than that. It's a lot deeper than that. And also, the only reason people think that is because they don't understand the church is Israel. It's not the atheist socialist nation state that was set up on the basis of actually utopian socialist ideology. So that's a huge issue. And people want to deflect into, well, it's not about what happened in the last century, it's what's happening right now. How would you get to where we are right now with, when Netanyahu comes and all of the, American elected leaders like stand up and cheer him and, basically grovel to him when he shows up like he's like a king or something. They don't even treat, like, if a dignitary like King Charles came, who's just as bad, like, they don't treat him with that sort of like, adulation and worship, groveling before him. So no, this is just kind of like, and I'm not trying to be mean to that dude, but like, I want you to call back in when we have like a Middle Eastern sort of topic that's more specific, and then we can go. I know it says geopolitics in the chat, but we've already been going for almost 4 hours, and Neil will have to probably check out here in a little bit because I asked for 1 hour of his time, and I don't want to. We don't want to destroy.
I got whatever you need. You
Neil
want to destroy my
energy.
reputation talking about Israel? Well, so this is kind of an interesting thing, but like coming into the Orthodox Church, what's nice about the Orthodox Church is it's not a pop-up church. It's not something that came around 10 years ago. It's not something that is drenched in the World War II narrative. And so what you realize is when you come into Orthodoxy is that you become so used to people in the world just getting out of the way of Israel and being so afraid to say anything about it. Which, if you really think about it, it's another. Let's just wipe out like any names. Let's say think country A, country B, country C, country D. Why would you give country B? Like, why does country B, no matter what it does, like not criticizable? So that's one of the things the Orthodox Church was free around. But you get so used to hearing people just back away from that, like because it gets conflated with criticizing a Jewish person, and now you're the bad World War II guy. So I think that. What people can do is just kind of sit back and just evaluate things and forget the name of the country you're evaluating. Just pay attention to who's in charge, what is like in the now, like on their resume, what have they done in the past? What are they like? What do they believe? What's their worldview? You start to get into this, you realize that Israel, like it even if it carries the same name and the same sound, there's no way it's anything like the Israel from the Old Testament. Yeah, it's in the same geographical place. So the idea that we're supposed to just sit there and give him a pass on everything doesn't make any sense. Like you credit the good when you see good, you call it the bad when you see bad. If you're going to have an opinion on these things, I don't have much of an opinion on these things, but I asked a monk once. I said, "Hey, how do I think about this?" He gave you this perfect monk wrong answer. He says, "Wrong is wrong. Doesn't matter who does it. It's wrong. So if it's wrong, it's wrong. Doesn't matter." So I was like, "Oh, that's a way simpler way of thinking of it and getting detangled from all of these films and all of this stuff that has told me." That here's the good guy, here's the bad guy, and so that was actually a relief coming to the Orthodox Church because I could, again, like just we were talking about earlier, like, hey, there's certain things you can't talk about in the world. This is one of the things that's coming back. The World War II narrative is dying. Sadly, it's died for some people because COVID, now they have the COVID narrative in their head. And they can't remember the mindset of people more than 5 years ago. But besides that, I mean, you can see online everywhere, everybody's starting to wake up to this. And so I think just keep talking about it and figure it out.
Sounds like you need to be put in a re-education camp and strapped down and shown Schindler's List 25 times in a row, and then maybe you'll be straightened out. Hugh Fox, what's up? Father Deacon's always coming up with these like elaborate sort of MK Ultra style techniques, and so I think we could work together.
I have a typological case for why doing with the passing of the waters, why it's obvious that Israel ends with the beheading of John the Baptist and the ascension of Christ. So I could get into that, but that takes about 5 minutes to explain. We won't do it now unless
you
another
can come
question.
back and we'll get into like, well, I think that's interesting. I didn't know that. I knew that you and pageau were buds, but I didn't know you were like as into typology and symbolism.
Yeah.
You knew who James Jordan was, so
it's cute because Jonathan, when he introduced me to people, he introduced me as a symbolism guy, which is kind of funny. Yeah, he did that to Jordan Peterson. I got his attention right away. It's kind of nice of him. He's probably being too generous, but. Anyway,
I was going to make a joke and be like, well, I could explain exactly when this happened, but it's going to take a 10-hour LSD PSYOP MK Ultra experience.
Perfect. Exactly. You're going to need a little brainwashing to understand what I'm saying.
Theology Explorer, $5. Did you know that you can ask ChatGPT to refute Protestant and Roman Catholic errors in a Dyer mode? I thought this was crazy. It is spot on a lot of times. Yeah, actually, I mean, I haven't done that, but I've seen a lot of people actually making YouTube videos and kind of reading off of scripts that I think most people we can kind of figure out like when people are reading something from a chat GPT type of response. So yeah, I know that you can kind of tailor it to respond in that way. I didn't know about it. I didn't think about doing specifically me, but that's funny.
Actually, the torture technique that Jay's and Father Deacon's gonna use is gonna be like Clockwork Orange, but instead of Beethoven, it's gonna be Enya.
Now all the moms are going to be happy because like that's straight mom core, and we don't hate all mom core. I mean, I could start singing Michael Bolton right here, but I'll hold off.
Moms need love too.
Go ahead.
No, while you're on the internet, go over and harass Joe Rogan to have Jay on his channel. I think the esoteric Hollywood content would be perfect for his podcast. So
I'd like to, yeah.
Just go swamp him with
cool.
with suggestions.
Now, Rogan will not listen to anyone in person suggesting, but they will pay attention when you guys put stuff in the chat. So somebody was asking earlier, will you go on PBD? I've talked to Patrick Bet-David's schedulers and producers probably 10 times, and they're always saying stuff like, well, maybe when your audience grows. So I need you guys to grow the audience, and then we can get on there. JB Peltier, $5. People think that justification is if I confess a thing, I can justify the thing. It's not. It's only if thing number one is the case that thing number two can be the case. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Saturday night special, $10. I've always been exceptionally skeptical of spirituality and religion, but your videos opened my mind. I went to my first liturgy a couple weeks ago. Thank you in no small part. Thank you. Glad to hear that. Saturday night special. Hopefully you have a good experience, because sometimes, just to be fair, not everybody's initial Orthodox experience is good. Sometimes they're bad. My initial experience is pretty bad, but stick with it, keep going, and I think you'll find the right community eventually if it's not your first test case. Guys, also remember to follow Neil right here at Dirt Poor Robbins. This is his channel, and they put out some really good, solid, unique music. I have to say, like, hey man, I'm not a professional music critic, but
you are a singer.
But I am a cringecore singer, and I mean, there's obviously many influences. What are some of the influences?
Yeah. So we started out probably bands like ELO and Queen and Pink Floyd from the 70s. I was a big Beatles influence as far as their melodic content, but we loved concept records. So, one of the things, like, so how I became friends with Pageau is that in 2019, we write a story for our records, and we write songs that kind of tell the story or highlight parts of the story. And so the story I came up with was a future world, a near future world where the globalists shut down the world through a series of pandemics and then use those pandemics to institute an authoritarian system of control, and also release a moral therapeutic AI there to coddle everybody through the process. And so when 2020 came around, it worked out really good for us because it looked like we could see around corners or something like that. And I'm not trying to see around corners, I'm just writing a song. So if you like concept records, or there's a lot more to sink your teeth into, you can go in and pick off songs, but we do really do well as far as people listening to our whole record. We had a great month with 2 older songs recently have kind of taken off. So they got a couple million streams alone last month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of cooking right now, and we haven't released anything new in 7 months. Now, next year, we're working with Justin Marler on a concept record around the Youth of the Apocalypse. Youth of the Apocalypse. There's no the direct article in front of it. So we're talking about doing that and doing a live record. So it's going to hit a little harder than our last couple of records, though. So anyway, that's what we do. So yeah, if you can follow us and subscribe to us, we get the problem is I talk online. And so a big part of our audience is like theater kids and stuff like that. And, these are people that are under like a heavy political oppression where people can't even, detach from their narrative, even in the smallest fashion, without being out of sorts with them. So we get a lot of flack for that. I get on to talk about my faith, and I just don't want to shut up about it. But one of the things that can help is people who are like-minded with us to kind of follow us, support us, because then we're uncancelable.
Right.
So any subscribes? I'm watching the numbers go up right now, Jay.
Yeah, you guys need to subscribe right now, and we got to support our own peeps.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Neil, for joining us.